everyone, it's Amanda. Today I'm going to be doing my recent reads video of the last 6 or 5 or so books that I've read recently. I couldn't be bothered to make my bed today. It's lazy Sunday, so we are rolling with it. But let's just get into the books that I've read recently. We have some good ones and some flops, of course, but I'm ready. Be sure to like and subscribe down below for more bookish content from me. I'd love to have you here. But let's just get into some books that I've read recently and hopefully find a recommendation from this list. So let's just dive right into my favorite one because I have to talk about it. Falls Boys by Penelope Douglas. Oh, this book was so freaking good. I absolutely loved this so much. I was just taken back to, like, I don't know what I was taken back to, but it was something great. This was just everything. The plot was really good, the romance was really good. We have a virgin hero, we have rivals to lovers, and good boy, bad girl. I absolutely love the commentary on class in this book as well. Like, it really dives deep into Arrow's life, which is our main female character, and she is really going through it. You know, she's had a hard life in foster care, stuff like that. She's trying to take care of her siblings. She's in a drug kind of space. She's just been brought up in a very hard environment, and she's been really abused by the people that should have been taking care of her. And then we also have Hawk, who's on the other side. You know, he is the son of characters from the Fall Away series, and he's just had it really easy. Even though he was taught about the lives of others and how hard they are compared to his, he never really experienced those, so he still obviously has the privilege, and he's trying to realize that as he meets Arrow. Like, yes, you've been told about harder lives, but have you been in it? It's nothing like being in it, you know what I mean? And they end up meeting in this really weird predicament. They are being followed by this bad cop, like a corrupted cop. This cop is involved in the drug world and involved in some really heavy money type situations. So they're involved with this corrupted cop, and they end up teaming up together, but they don't want to. They're still like very much rivals, but for some reason they're drawn to help each other. It's very fast paced in the beginning. Like, we jump right into the action where Arrow is with her foster brothers and in this weird situation where she has to collect rent from everybody that owes them, and this is how the situation kind of starts out. They end up in Carnival Tower, which is a notorious spot from the previous series. I had no idea what it was. It is very mysterious and it has a story behind it, and that's kind of a mystery throughout the story of like who was there before and why is there pictures up and phones, burned phones and stuff like that. So if you like Penelope Douglas books, I would say this one's gonna be a win for you, and I can't wait for the rest of the series. There's gonna be so many books in the series and I just can't wait because now I'm invested so much into the story. And I have not read the Fall Away series, so if you're kind of like, I don't know if I should read it because I didn't read Bully or the rest of the Fall Away series, I think you're okay because I understood everything that was going on. Now, do I think I should have read the first series? Yes, a little bit, just because they do talk about the parents and what happened in their lives in the past, and I was just a little bit intrigued by that, and I was like, oh man, I should have read that story first because they talk about what happened in this book, almost like a recap, but to me it was like new information. So really good. I rated it 5 stars, 3 out of 5 on the chili peppers. So good. Then we have A Sick Fox by Tilly Cole. This is an Alice in Wonderland reimagining. Kind of. It's more so like it's centered around Alice in Wonderland because of the main character's obsession with it when she's a kid, and because of her trauma she's never really gotten rid of her childlike tendencies. So this is a dark romance that follows 2 characters, Dolly and Rabbit, and they are in this horrible traumatic experience where they were abused as children. Dolly is left in this house without her friend Rabbit because Rabbit gets sent away when he kills somebody who was abusing her, and she's stuck there for 11 more years. And so she's just in this repressed kind of state where she's made up this persona in her mind of who she is, and she's locked away her real self so she can never resurface type thing. Like, she's almost like still a child because of what she's went through, even though it's been 11 years since. And Rabbit's actually imprisoned in this high society prison that nobody knows about, but he ends up escaping with 2 of his inmates, and he ends up going back for Dolly because they are childhood friends to lovers, and he wants to have revenge on everybody who's wronged them. So it's based on Alice in Wonderland, like how he set up this whole revenge spree. It's based on Dolly's favorite book when they were kids, which was Alice in Wonderland. Like, their whole persona is based off Alice in Wonderland, so they kill people based on cards. I rated it 4 stars. It was really good in terms of like a dark romance, and you definitely believed in their love story, that he would do anything for her, touch her, and you die. you seriously will die if you lay a finger on Dolly. And I definitely loved that aspect. I just felt like some of the time he was also in a way fetishizing her because he dresses her up like a doll. Like even in the beginning of the book when he was a kid, it just felt kind of weird to me. I don't know, I just felt a little bit icky about it, but other than that, I really liked it. So then we have The Pawn and the Puppet, which is a dark romance that's set in an asylum, which had such a freaking good premise, and the overall story I really liked. I rated this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good. It had such 5-star potential, but I felt like there were so many plot lines that were going on, like one after the other, where they were all good in theory, but once you tie them together, it just fell a little flat because of everything that was going on at once. Basically, we're following Skylina. She ended up losing her sister. She was abused as a child. Her sister was abused as a child. And we don't know how her sister was lost, but we just know that she's accused of killing her own sister and she believes it to be true. So she ends up fulfilling her sister's footsteps by working in this asylum that her sister really wanted to transform, because they have horrible, horrible treatments there, like waterboarding, chair binding, induced seizures, stuff like that. Things that are horrible. So she wanted to have more humane treatment. So Skylina ends up interviewing, and that's the beginning of the book, where she is trying to become a conformist, the people who do the treatments, and she wants to basically prove that they can be treated like humanely. But when the romance comes in is with patient 13. So after she proves herself and shows that she's capable of providing humane treatment, they give her the most notorious dark patient 13. His name's Destin, and she has 90 days to prove that she can also save him, except he ends up saving her. I really, really did love the premise, and I loved Destin as a character. He has split personalities, so she is trying to uncover why and who the other personality is, because she wants to figure out why they are connected and why he knows so much about her. And that's the secret that's unraveled as the book goes on. It was a little bit disappointing at the end when we did find out all the mystery behind everything, but it was still good. I just felt like there was so much going on with like the politics of the world. There's a lot going on. It's almost like a fantasy world as well. So on top of this asylum and what she set out to do, and then the romance, we also have this political world where she's living with this man who's kind of like low-key abusive, like really weird vibes. Destin warns her about the guy she's living with, like don't be alone with him type thing. So some things happening with him, and there's just a lot going on, but Destin is very much touch her and you die. He's very protective over Skylina. They're basically soulmates. I was just really, really overwhelmed by the romance itself. There was no steam whatsoever, like none. 0 out of 5 chili peppers, which I was a little bit upset about, not gonna lie, just because I was expecting it, you know? The only other thing that I didn't really like was all of these similes that it had. Very much Sarah J. Maas type thing, but it was a lot of similes, like very noticeable in the beginning. Very, very noticeable, but I got used to it as time went on. Next, we have a total flop, which was Follow the River by C.E. Ritchie. So this one, a lot of people really love. A lot of people that love indie romance love this book, and I just could not get past the idea that rape was justified in this book. It felt justified to me, and nobody can change my mind about it. I know that some people are justifying it with the author on this one, but I just can't justify it. I don't think that it was just like, oh yeah, I would have stopped if you actually said no. No, there was no like discussion about anything. But this book was just giving me bad vibes all around. It's a Midland romance that has 2 football players, and they end up going at it. You know, they have some sexual tension and they end up fighting, and they go to a cabin up north because their coach makes them to kind of hash out their differences. And while they're in the cabin, they end up having multiple moments where they fight, and then they like have sex or whatever, but it's very much not consensual at first. I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong fucking way, and I did not enjoy it at all. I gave it 1 star. These triggers weren't in my house you know, they're not approved by me. But I do know people really love this book. It was just not my cup of tea. Also, the writing style wasn't my favorite. Next, we have Hunting Adaline, which I did a whole vlog on this duet, so I'll link it above and down below. Be sure to check that out if you want my full thoughts, because I'm not gonna spoil that video and go too much into it. But I rated this one 4 stars. I also rated the first one 4 stars, so that gives you an idea that I really did love the duet. The only reason I didn't rate it 5 stars is because I really liked the beginning a lot better than the last half. This book picks up right where the first one left off, so I can't really say what this is about per se, but I will say what the series is about. It's a stalker dark romance, and it turns into a lot more than that as we get into this one. This one gets a lot more dark. It has, the main triggers is sex trafficking, because the main male character is involved in that world and he saves girls in sex trafficking. And yeah, so he's involved in this life. He ends up stalking our main character that he becomes obsessed with in the first book. She gets involved with the wrong people because of him, kind of thing. So he feels really guilty about that. And in this one, she is actually involved a lot more in that world, and that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. But the first one's really, really good. It has more of a murder mystery type thing, because she's living in this Victorian house that her grandmother owned, and her great-grandmother was killed. And she's trying to figure out who did it, because it was never discovered. Like, it was a cold case. And then the second one gets a lot darker. That's all I'll say. It's really good. You should definitely read it if you're interested. If you've heard about it and you've been wanting to pick it up, definitely do so. Really good. Really good steam too. And lastly, I just read Hellfire, which was our KU readathon buddy read. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling, very much fantasy based, and I rated this one 3 stars. So in the beginning, I really, really liked it. It could have been like a 4-star vibe, but as we went on in the story, they started adding in more perspectives that made no goddamn sense to me. Like, I do read fantasy, okay? I do read a little bit of fantasy, but I felt like this was very much information overload and a lot of things going on at once. So we had the romance going on, which was top freaking tier. I will say the steam was freaking hot, and I wanted more of that. Like, it was really fucking good. And even the lore behind everything, the whole fantasy world was really intriguing and really good. It was when there were more characters brought in that I was like starting to make no sense. Like, they start bringing in characters like Emran, and random characters have perspectives that you're like, why do they have a freaking perspective again? Like, who are these people and why are they involved? There's also this political kind of thing going on between the worlds, like most fantasies have, but I just found it a little bit confusing as the story went on, because it felt like it was being told, not shown type thing, where like it was like paragraphs and paragraphs of descriptive paragraphs on paragraphs of where the world came from, why it is the way it is, so on and so forth. And I just felt like it was a lot to take in. I don't know if you've read it, let me know. But that's just how I felt personally. I would read more from this author in the future, because this steam was freaking so good. Like, praise king, all the good shit. So if you want to know a little bit more about what it's about, basically in the beginning, our main character, Ahia, or Ahia, I forget how it's pronounced, but she's running from her hometown where she grew up, because they were torturing her, abusing her, and her mother died. So she was like kind of alone in this world. And she ends up going to this world's hell. At the gate, she ends up fighting this beast that the leader puts on her. And when she gets to the gate, he's there, the leader, and he strikes up a deal with her that if she gives him her soul, he will permit her what she wants. So what she wants is sanctuary and protection, but what she doesn't say is that she wants it for like a certain amount of time. So he ends up tricking her. So she only gets 7 days of asylum in this hell, and she needs more time. And then from that beginning, it just gets a lot more fantasy involved, political involved, and stuff like that. So that's what I'll give you to go off of. I would say give it a shot. I feel like you might like it if you like that premise. So those are all the books that I've read recently. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe down below for more bookish content from me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!